Idioms make our speech more colorful. They often express exactly what we mean and how we feel. However, you don't want to overload your speech with idioms because it will sound forced and unnatural. But a few well-placed idioms in a conversation or a text will make you sound confident and proficient. Hi, I'm Jennifer from English with Jennifer. Let's see if you're familiar with 10 idioms that we use for talking about how we handle difficulties and where we are in life. Ready? Answer my questions. Sometimes we say yes too much, and then our responsibilities and obligations overwhelm us. My advice? Don't bite off more than you can chew. In other words, don't try to do too much or something that's too difficult. It's natural to worry about a problem, but sometimes a challenging situation becomes a blessing in disguise. In other words, it's something that initially appears bad, but then delivers a benefit. Sometimes we exaggerate how bad things are. Are you really down and out, or just going through a rough patch? Which idiom refers to a more serious misfortune? Down and out. Down and out is when a person has no opportunities because they lack almost everything: money, work, and maybe even a home. Going through a rough patch is just a difficult period of your life, a process, or a relationship. Feeling like you don't have any options can be stressful. With your back against a wall, you argue there's nothing you can do. In other words, you feel like you have limited choices. You're helpless. Note different variations like these. My back is to the wall. My back is against the wall. I had my back against the wall. Or just the prepositional phrase, with my back against the wall. The key to making progress in life is to roll with the punches. People who can't recover from a hit won't move forward. In other words, you need to adapt. How you show up in the world makes a difference. People who put their best foot forward find more good fortune and favor than those who are pessimistic and cold towards others. In other words, you should try your best and show your best side to people. Ideally, you want to do more than just keep your head above the water, right? You want to thrive and enjoy success. In other words, you don't simply want to survive. I know it might be nice if every day were smooth sailing, but we can admit that we grow through challenges. In other words, every day can't be easy and without any problems. While challenges are a natural part of life, it's not unreasonable to desire the kind of success that will keep you flying high throughout the year. In other words, it's a common desire to be happy and achieve success, especially financially. Note that this idiom is used in the progressive: was flying high, is flying high, has been flying high. Okay, let's review. I'll show you the idioms one by one with some missing words. Do your best to recall them. Here we go. Bite off more than you can chew. A blessing in disguise. Flying high. Going through a patch. A rough patch. Have your the wall. Have your back against the wall, have your back to the wall. Either one is fine. Down and out. Roll with the punches. Put one's best forward. Foot. Keep your head water. Keep your head above the water. Sailing. Smooth sailing. Let's try it this way. I'll show you an image and you tell me which idiom it illustrates. How did you do? Let me give you a couple of study tips. You can use ChatGPT or another AI tool to create exercises for you. Use this prompt. I'm an English language learner. Imagine you are an experienced and very creative American English language teacher. Please create a 60-word text with these 5 idioms, but omit at least one word in each idiom to create a gapped text that I can fill in for practice. And then you list the 5 idioms you want to practice. Does that make sense? Here's a text that ChatGPT created using that prompt. Let's read it together. Liam bit off more than he could chew when he agreed to 2 jobs at once. At first he struggled, but losing one of them turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Now he's flying high with his dream job. Last year, he and his wife were going through a rough patch, but they never gave up, even when they had their back against the wall. Once you enter that prompt, you can then generate a second text to practice the same 5 idioms, or you can ask AI to generate a new text with the other 5 idioms. Here's a second prompt you can use for speaking and writing practice. I'll put both prompts in the video description so you can easily copy and paste them. I'm an English language learner. Imagine you are an experienced and very creative American English language teacher. Please create 5 engaging discussion questions at the C1 level of proficiency. Each question must use one of these 5 idioms, and then list those idioms. I'll show you 5 questions that ChatGPT came up with using that prompt. You can pause the video and write your answers to the questions in the comments. Remember, you can use the same prompt to practice the other 5 idioms. 1. Can you think of a time when you felt down and out, but managed to turn things around? What helped you recover from that situation? 2. Life can be unpredictable. How do you personally roll with the punches when faced with unexpected challenges? Do you think adaptability is a learned skill? 3. When meeting new people or attending an important event, how do you put your best foot forward? Do first impressions always matter? Why or why not? 4. Many people struggle to balance work, studies, and personal life. How do you keep your head above the water when life feels overwhelming? What strategies work best for you? 5. Have you ever started a project or task expecting difficulties, but it turned out to be smooth sailing? What made the experience easier than expected? If you have a conversation partner, you can use these questions for practice. Do your best to use the idioms in your responses. One of my favorite exercises to practice new vocabulary is to create a story. And I'm not talking about asking ChatGPT to do it for you. The story has to come from within. You could make it up, but I think it will be more memorable if you base the story on real-life experience. Let me model a short narrative based on a real-life experience. As I tell you my story, you can probably guess which idiom I'm about to use before I actually say it. So listen carefully. When I moved a few years ago, I definitely felt overwhelmed by everything I had to do. I worried that I had bit off more than I could chew. Once I started a whole house renovation, I felt like there wasn't any choice to stop. I felt like my back was against the wall, so I wrote check after check to get all the projects done. My kids and I tried our best to adapt to all the chaos within our house, but as much as we wanted to roll with the punches, we got tired of all the dust and disruption. The weekly expenses were high, and I worried about managing my finances and not sinking into debt. It was my responsibility to keep my head above the water. It wasn't an easy time to live through, but moving really became a blessing in disguise. I'm happy where I live now, and I love my home office even more than my old one. Consider putting your own short story in the comments. Try to use at least 3 of the new idioms. If you enjoy working on advanced vocabulary, please consider joining me on Patreon, where we work on all skills for more confident, effective communication. And you get personal feedback from me, not AI. That's all for now. Please remember to like and share the video if you found the lesson useful. As always, thanks for watching and happy studies.